Hello and welcome back to Click Video Mag. For this episode, we've got two interesting things to talk about. First and foremost, a brand new lens, and then we're going to spend the majority of the episode talking about you and Airshows, which is a bit of a payback because I spent one of the previous episodes just talking about me and fashion event, which was a lot of fun, I'll give you that.
Okay.
But first things first, a brand new lens. Those of you who came on Roadshow in Joburg and Durban might have missed this because it was announced pretty much between Durban and Cape Town. It proved to be very, very popular in Cape Town. The response was very interesting. It's a brand new EF-S mount, 35mm f2.8 macro, and as you can see from the front, a built-in light. Ring light. Now we've seen this before. You've already had one on the EF-M mount.
28mm, yeah.
And what we essentially did, we kind of realized that there's a demand for macro photography, but it's quite intimidating in terms of the price to go and invest straight up into a macro lens and then realize that lighting is kind of critical to the process. So Canon copied that design in the EF-M mount, which is quite a popular little lens, and we've now put it into the EF-S bayonet. So this will fit on all of the crop sensor cameras all the way up to the 7D Mark II, and it's a damn good investment for somebody who's keen on getting into macro photography, because that light saves quite a bit of money in terms of buying additional accessories. The beautiful thing about it, 35mm gives you a focal length of around about 50. 2.8 will give you nice shallow depth of field. Your focal range means it's not just a macro lens. You can use it for portrait, for beauty, etc. And if you want little catch lights in the eyes, you have control over the light on the front.
So that also works like the EF-M one. You can use one or two lights, both lights, etc., etc.
Absolutely. Left, right, light. Had to do that carefully. And then two different power settings.
That's very cool.
So half or full power.
Especially when using it, if you just want to bounce it for portraiture.
Yeah.
Just the one side. It's just awesome.
Stock's arriving in June. You should see that on the shelves, at a very, very attractive price point. So if you're into macro or even beauty, fashion, portraiture, that's a nice starting lens.
Great idea. It's an awesome idea.
Right.
Cool
so
stuff.
What's more important is it's Airshow season, and this is your forte. This is what you do the most of. So why Airshow season now? What is it?
Airshow season now, predominantly because of the blue skies. Up here in Gauteng, we've got the most amazing blue skies during this time of year. It makes it a little bit boring with having no clouds whatsoever.
Indeed, yeah. But then there's no rain.
There's no rain. Usually the air is kind of clean.
Yeah.
We started this year with Airshow at Swartkorps Air Force Base.
Right.
It's a SAF museum airshow, so all the proceeds go to the SAF museum. Being a government organisation, they really need the cash influx. But predominantly SAF aircraft flying or South African Air Force aircraft flying. The only problem, you having shot at Swartkorps as well, you know that the sun is on the wrong side.
Shooting into the light,
the whole day. You would think they'd think of us when they build runways. I mean, put the sun on the right side.
They plan on flat land and wind, you know.
So our thoughts were, go to Swartkorps, take a few images, drop the images in the video, and talk about my ideas of what's wrong and what's right. My ideas of how you can play around with the camera. You would see some of our short clips that we're doing is showing the guys how to move from AV to P, from PV to etc. So getting better with your camera and just having a look at some of the shots at the Airshow. And
so hints in terms of, from anybody who's a beginner or getting into advanced. Your beginners would probably go to an Airshow with their kit lens with a 75-300.
Yeah.
They'll probably put it onto the man running the high speed mode, the high speed action type of mode,
or leave it on green and put the flash up.
Okay, you don't want to use green, but we've seen flashes going off at Airshows before. Okay, but the high-speed sports mode automatically puts the camera into a high shutter speed and high frames per second, which is good for jets and high-speed action stuff. But when it comes to airplanes with propellers or helicopters,
not so lucky. You want some movement in the prop. You want something to look like the aircraft is actually flying. If the prop is standing dead still, it looks like a model aircraft you built and hung from your roof. You need some movement to be happening.
Yeah.
If we look at some of the shots I took, first one of the Allo. Now, slow down the shutter speed quite dramatically. On choppers, to get the shutter speed slow enough to get the whole disc to show, you got to be very steady. Now, the second thing that you try with the chopper is to get some movement happening in the tail rotor, because the tail rotor predominantly turns a lot faster because it's smaller. So getting some movement happening there. Now, this shot that I've got here is 1/25th of a second, taken at 300. So normally your rule of thumb, you can go with the rule of thumb.
If you've got a 300mm lens, you need to be using 300ths of a second, if not faster. But you can't get, this is at what, 1/25th?
It's 1/25th.
Your average guy on the street's not going to be able to go straight there. You probably want to take your shutter speeds down in increments.
Slowly. Start off at about 500, then work your way down. At 500, you are going to get the rigid props. But get 500, get your motion sharp, because you start to learn what the aircraft is going to do. You know that the aircraft is coming from left, it's going to go left, right. It's an easy panning motion following it. Choppers are a little bit more erratic. They tend to move in funny places in the sky. But you can learn to follow the aircraft and fire the shots. Memory is cheap. Shoot it, get the right shot, go, be happiness.
But I see you shoot in TV, time value. So this is obviously the first step in aviation, to get out of that high-speed sports mode, get into TV. So you still want to have continuous on your frame, your motor drive. You still want to have AI servo is running. Tracking autofocus.
You can leave ISO and auto. What I've done for most of these shots, I dropped ISO and 100 and left it there. Let the camera do everything, because I'm shooting in RAW. Afterwards, I can change what I need to change. Also, one of the things that I find is because the sky was extremely overcast, and the sky was at that day it was a horrible looking sky. Spot metering at that instance is not going to work so nicely, because you're going to get very dark aircraft or very light skies, and it's not going to work well. So I left it in evaluative, let it sort of look at what's happening in the sky. The camera did to make the decision what to expose for.
As a first timer, I wouldn't jump straight to evaluative, because you're going to look at your pictures and think, what the hell's happening? You might want to start with center weighted, which is not just the very, very spot tight metering, but center weighted, whatever's generally in the middle of the shot. And if you're a tight enough zoom, you're probably going to fill the center of the frame with the aircraft anyway. So now, when shooting jets, obviously, the slow shutter speeds, and shooting time value, you're just actually turning a wheel.
You're turning it on.
So you turn down and then click, 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 click.
And turn the other way.
Ideally, you should be panning with the subject. So pretty much like motor racing.
Ideally.
Yeah. So what you're essentially going to do is click, 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 click as continuously as possible. Be prepared to throw some of them away.
Be prepared to have a very bad hit ratio. Next shot that we have here, thanks dude, is Oryx. Now Oryx, 4 rotor blades, they turn quite quickly. I'm calling this a not so nice shot. Specifically because of the fact the tail rotor is there. I like the tail rotor to be full. If you look at the next shot, the problem that happens
but
when
any first timer is going to be happy with a shot like that.
Any first timer will be happy with it.
The clincher here is the entire helicopter's in focus.
That's because you're shooting at f7. F7 1/60th, you're quite happy. Now, if you take that and slow it down to a 50th of a second, it becomes very, very dark, very gringy, because suddenly you've jumped to f22. That's the gringiness that starts coming through. You go,
it's not quite as crisp.
Not so lacquer. The other one's quite crispy. Now,
but at 50th of a second, the average guy on the street's not going to be able to shoot that on first day out. So be prepared to go to a couple of air shows.
They'll get there.
All right, okay.
They'll get there. They'll get there. So don't think that jets is easy to shoot.
Ooh, that doesn't.
It's not so nice.
You didn't turn the wheel quickly enough to a high speed. You were still shooting.
I was trying to show, if you leave it at 2/50th of a second, you're still going to get blur, because these things move hellishly quickly. So you need to anticipate, get the shutter speed a little bit higher to 400. You'll start to see very, very nice things developing. It becomes extremely sharp, even at 320. Looking inside the cockpit, see what's happening. But
see, there's still a bit of motion blur in the clouds there.
The clouds gets a little bit of motion blur, because you try and follow the subject where it's going. Your shutter speed is slow enough to give you a little bit of motion blur in the clouds. If you're shooting at 500, obviously the clouds are going to be static. Because the Impala, the specific aircraft, is silver.
That's going to have a good light
meters. If you spot meter on this thing, it becomes interesting. You'll see in the middle where the wing meets the fuselage, there's like this bright light.
Of course.
If you spot meter there, you're going to have a bit of an issue. So like you said, center weighted will sort that out.
Changing shutter speeds is something you need to do.
One of the things you notice here is I didn't go to AV for jets. I'm too lazy to change the mode setting. I just dial up the shutter speed wherever I wanted. Getting into props.
Wow. Okay.
So props are their own kind of ugliness, because like I said, you've got to get the motion in the prop. Because of the bad sky we had that day, some of the things are extremely gringy against the background. But to give you an idea, that's a 60th of a second. F14. Little Annie, the Antonov, moves quite slowly, so 60th you've got time to have a drink of coffee before she comes around again.
But this is a good thing to start off with.
That's lovely.
You find the slowest aircraft out there and then start dialing down your speeds.
Then start going the other way.
Okay, these guys move a little bit quicker.
Things like these suckers move very, very quickly. It's an extra. It goes quite quickly. This was on its takeoff run, so at 80th you know exactly the path that the aircraft is going to follow. So it's a straight path, pan it easier. 80th of a second gives you a nice full fat disc. But you'll notice that the back end of the aircraft, the tail of the aircraft, is now out of focus. Specifically, there's a bit of movement happening on the tail plane, but also because of F18 and all the influences here, that some things are going to be soft. Nigel performing with his, once again, an extra 125th gives you a nice little full disc there. It's nice and crisp.
Silver Falcons.
Silver Falcon's wrong. Silver Falcon's not done well. If you look at what the props are doing, the props are actually falling apart.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's because shot at 1/25th and it's definitely not in its soft.
Yeah, okay.
It's soft, so you can actually see the full disc, but the disc is moving.
Okay.
Because camera shake.
Wow.
Camera shake is happening.
Camera shake's going to happen
on
a
the
big
second
scale.
one, it does work though.
All right.
If you get them, they tend to pop out quite nicely with the full disc because of the fact that the aircraft now looks like there's movement.
Fantastic.
The smoke has got a lot of movement happening in it. It actually looks a very, very nice shot. Both shutter speeds are at 1/25th, so they're exactly the same. Nothing's changed.
But the more you shoot, the more you'll understand what shutter speed is best for the aircraft. But you'll also see a whole bunch of other photographers out there, whether they're wearing jackets, etc. And if it's your first day out, so like, dude, seriously, give us an idea.
Yeah.
You shot these prop guys before. What's the best shutter speed? And Justin Derick told me the first time shooting Silver Falcons, if you want 4/4 but a blur, 200th of a second.
200th of a second.
If you want a full circle, it's 1/25th. That's where you need to go because he knows the aircraft.
There is a formula.
There is a formula.
Take the amount of discs, take the speed the engine's running at, do a calculation.
Okay,
You'll get the idea.
I walk around with a calculator. Actually, I do. It's a cell phone. Yeah.
Having mixed with a lot of the pro shooters on the circuit, these guys are not full of themselves. They will help anybody anytime. You can walk up to the guys wearing the jackets with the big gear. Go, give me some help. They'll help. Okay, so that's Silver Falcons, and then I shot the Harvards at the 1/25th. Just to give you an idea, the Harvard at the 1/25th, the prop is a lot slower.
Sure.
But you're getting crispiness. You're getting the oil on the side of the aircraft.
Yeah,
everything just looks nice. Once again, 1/25th on the Harvards F11 works quite nicely, and then 1/60th. But I specifically wanted the smoke to do something. The smoke to appear a little bit more static in the shot. That's why I went for that kind of shutter speed. I hope the tips and tricks helped. If you see me around the shows, come chat to me anytime. We'll be available to help. Roger's there a lot of times. There's Newcastle coming up this weekend.
That's first week of June. Yeah.
First week of June. Second week after that, there's the Adrenaline Show, which is fantastic. The Adrenaline Show is great because it combines cars and planes.
Yeah.
I had a chat with the media boss this morning. I had a meeting with him quickly, and the things that will be at the Adrenaline Show is going to be amazing. There's first-time things that you're never going to see again. I'll give you a bit of a hint. Something like a car or a bike jumping over an aircraft, things like that.
Interesting,
so
okay.
It's going to be very, very cool. After that, we've got Middelburg, we've got Swaziland coming up, so there's a lot of time to practice.
Yeah, good. And Adrenaline Show, that's out at Vorderboom. I want to make a plan to get out there. We were there last year. The biggest problem I had was those really high fences. So shooting motorsport was difficult unless you got on the grandstand. Pay that little bit extra on the entrance fee. Get your ass up to the higher angle. If you're looking down on the track, you're going to get some great shots.
Also, the higher you are, the more straight you are with the aircraft. You don't shoot up at the aircraft, which is also a hell of a nice thing.
The other big thing is, with most air shows, I go to Rand Air Show on a regular basis. That's coming up in August. Get there early. If you know Rand Air Show, it's on a corner type design. The aircraft come around that apex of the corner. If you're not with the photographer's area across in the middle of the field, getting into that corner is the best space to be. And it's all about getting there early. And again, you'll find there's a couple of other photographers there. You'll find a great spot. And these are just things you need to play. And as I say, check the calendars, the airshow calendars on Facebook, here, there, and everywhere. There's lots of info out there.
On Facebook, follow Aviation Central. They give you all the updates on the calendars and things happening.
Cool, awesome, like it a lot. Well, that's it for this episode. If you like what we had to say, put some comments down below. As usual, keep watching, keep clicking, and hit the subscribe button, would you? Thanks very much.
Cheers.